This will be a special edition of Forgotten History to set the record straight on a few things. It seems that there are large segments of the international community, even those within the United States proper, who are willfully and deliberately ignorant of some basic historical facts. Strap in for the ride as we talk about the United States from its inception to the present and ask the following questions. Has the Great Experiment failed? Do the words from our Declaration of Independence that state, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Does this still hold true? Has media perception around the world about the USA abandoned historical reality?
Hello, I'm Colin Heaton, a veteran of the United States Army and Marine Corps, former history professor, book author, and welcome to this episode of Forgotten History.
The woke liberal Marxist lack of education system is largely to blame. The rest is a conspiratorial collective that seems to have forgotten how lucky they are that the USA was and still is the world's 911 call when things go very badly, at least before the Biden administration. Our nation is not perfect, and we have made many mistakes, as have all nations. We are also guilty of having a political system that allows our international, foreign, and domestic policies to be radically changed overnight with a single presidential election. We were the first constitutional representative republic in history. This is why it has been called the Great Experiment. We elected a president, not a king, after gaining independence. Our national leader has great powers, but he also has great constraints on those powers due to our unique form of government. Democracies can go out of existence with a single election. Just look at Weimar Republic Germany and the National Socialists coming to power, or the election of Benito Mussolini. The president is restrained by both houses of Congress, the House of Representatives and the Senate, making up the legislative branch, who are elected by the people, like the president, or the executive branch. And there is also the Supreme Court, the judicial branch, to monitor the other two branches of government on constitutional issues. As a nation, we are capable of going from strong, structured, creative, powerful leadership on the world stage to becoming a collective clown show, like the current administration, full of sycophants and incompetence, as demonstrated by the very questionable election of Joseph Biden. Biden, who in 5 decades of public service and never having a real job, never had a single successful policy decision, and has effectively destroyed the best of American society, leadership, and stability. Bad leadership equals perceived weakness and leads to global problems, and history has proven this every time. But this was not always the case. Despite some of the ridiculous leadership in our 247-year history since declaring our independence from Great Britain, and the 240 years since we were recognized as an independent nation by Great Britain and the European powers, after the Treaty of Paris in 1783, we became an amazing nation. Although we did have the institution of slavery, a leftover from British rule until the end of the Civil War in 1865, far later than the European nations, we were actually the first nation of primarily ethnic European extraction to ban the importation of slavery into our country under President Thomas Jefferson in 1807. Our nation was the first to challenge the Barbary pirates, the Islamic terrorists of their day, and we won. And that example motivated the European powers to stop paying tribute and effectively ending the commercial North African white slave trade and hostage-taking. Over a period of 300 years, it has been estimated that about 1 million Europeans were kidnapped from ships and from their towns and villages throughout southern, western, and northern Europe. Many were sold into slavery as rowers on ships, women sent to harems as sex slaves, and other high-value prisoners, ships, and their cargoes were often ransomed. Nations paid tribute to pay off the pirates to not attack their ships. Although we were somewhat slow as a nation to fully address the issue of slavery, we fought the Civil War, and over 600,000 Americans died to end the practice of slavery. We fought many wars, sometimes for better reasons than others, but in every case, when we liberated a nation under threat and occupied it, we eventually allowed the local population to establish their own government and enjoy self-rule. Many countries never did that. We assisted the Allies in liberating the world in 2 world wars. Our geographic location and industrial might allowed us to provide the arms and materiel not just for our own nation, but to supply the Allies in every theater. When we go to war, our military operates under the strictest rules of engagement known to mankind. We take casualties just to ensure no innocent civilians are intentionally harmed. I know, I've been on the funeral details. After we helped with those wars, we left those nations, while the victorious Allied European colonial powers simply exchanged the colonial rule of the German Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, and Ottoman Empire to their own colonial possessions, especially France and Great Britain. After World War II, we not only allowed the nations of Germany, Italy, and Japan to form their own post-fascist governments with democratic forms of governance, we launched the Marshall Plan and rebuilt those nations that we had bombed into rubble. No other nation on earth had ever done that, and the reason was that yes, we wanted to stop the encroachment of communism into those nations, but we also saw the need to set aside past differences, rebuild not just nations and economies, but build new friendships and allow those defeated peoples to rebuild their lives, giving future generations a chance to live in freedom, something many nations had never really had. Our military has liberated more people from totalitarian dictatorship, slavery, and annihilation than any other nation in history. When we liberated a nation or conquered an enemy, we gave the nations back to their people. If we maintained a military base in that country, we paid for the privilege. The only thing we asked for, as stated so eloquently by General Colin Powell, was enough real estate to bury our dead. That means our war debt to help make other people free. Sadly, with the exceptions of northern France, the Netherlands, Belgium, South Korea, and the Philippines as examples, many nations, especially Europeans, have forgotten that. They have lived large under the protection of NATO, which, by the way, was a US-funded organization that the Europeans never wanted to contribute to, until President Donald Trump told them to pay the hell up and pay their arrears. They did. We emerged from World War II as the world's premier superpower. That came with a lot of responsibility, which meant that we were also back on the emergency dial list. When North Korea invaded South Korea, we responded, and the United Nations followed. When North Vietnam tried to absorb the democratic South, we also responded, although President Lyndon B. Johnson fabricated the Gulf of Tonkin event to get us involved. When Americans or other citizens were under serious threat and in danger, we responded. While Vietnam, although militarily a great success, as we never lost a major battle, was still one of our greatest political failures. We allowed amateur politicians to govern the operations of that conflict and not give a free hand to the military that was trained and seasoned to do it and do it right. The results on the battlefield proved it. Our nation is also rather incompetent sometimes, and to be fair, downright stupid. We still give an average of $50 billion a year to over 190 countries, many of which do not even like us, and some who would like to kill us, and a few who have already done so. Both political parties are responsible for this continued myopic ignorance which the American taxpayer, and even worse, the military pay for in both blood and treasure. Yet we have also prevented many smaller conflicts from erupting into larger ones by getting involved fast and putting our foot down. We had a great coalition of militarily competent allies over the decades. Former enemies Japan, Italy, and Germany have become some of our strongest partners for peace. Our politics, while often torrid and unpleasant, won the Cold War, which stimulated the liberation of the Warsaw Pact nations of Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, East Germany, Czechoslovakia, which became 2 nations, Slovakia and the Czech Republic. East and West Germany were unified. Albania abandoned communism and saw parts of the former Soviet Union become independent nations, such as Estonia, Latvia, Moldova, Lithuania, Belarus, Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Georgia, etc. Our presence on the world stage prevented World War III, stabilized many nations, teetering on the brink of going communist. Our economic power has stimulated the global economy. Our nation was based upon free market capitalism, which allowed for the freedom to create business and industry, promote healthy competition, and launched the global economic miracle. Any person, regardless of social and economic status, has the opportunity to make their lives better. Unlike socialism and communism, both types of economic platforms that control commerce, trade, industry, and maintain government control over all manufacturing, education, and communism in particular, eliminated the middle class. We promoted human rights, promoted laws that ensured all Americans were treated fairly under the law, and eliminated discrimination. We created affirmative action as a remedy, as well as anti-hate laws protecting all citizens, which not every nation has done. We revere the sanctity of life, unlike the former communist tyrants, and people such as Hitler, Stalin, Mao, and the family dictatorship of North Korea, who killed tens of millions of their own people just to impart an atmosphere of terror and enforced compliance. There is a reason why Russia, China, North Korea, and Cuba, as examples, do not have an illegal immigration problem. They want opportunity and freedom. If people want to trash the USA, then they need to ask themselves some serious questions and gain some maturity. What has your country done to make the world safer or better? Why do you not have the majority of the world's poor and downtrodden flocking to your borders? Why has your nation begged for the USA to bail you out of danger often on more than one occasion? Did your nation have a colonial empire period, and how did that work out for you? Why was your nation never called upon to help save the world? That was probably because you were already under enemy occupation, but we took care of that. No, we are not perfect. No nation was or is. But what makes us the best is the fact that we as a people, politicians notwithstanding, are generally very fair people. We are the world's largest charitable contributor. No nation on earth which has suffered a natural disaster has not received some form of American aid donated by the most generous people on earth, as well as military assistance. We are also the largest recipients of legal immigrants, unlike the rest of the world, and under the current administration, we also have the greatest number of illegal immigrants, and many are criminals and a few are terrorists. We welcome those in their millions who apply to legally immigrate, contribute, and continue the never-ending work of building a better United States. No, we are not perfect, but unlike most other nations, we never stop trying to be better without relying upon another nation to remain free, like most of you do. The globalist Marxist agenda has been in full attack mode. Those who follow it either do not understand the ramifications of such an agenda, or they are fully aware and are determined to destroy the freedom-loving world which we represent. We have semi-literate elected leaders, many of whom espouse their belief in the left-wing propaganda and are determined to eliminate as much of our constitutional rights as possible to further that agenda. Attacks on the First Amendment were clear to see with the Marxist media bias, who abandoned their right to be called journalists years ago. Social platforms became enclaves of censorship against opinions that did not conform to the liberal Marxist mantra, even when such information was accurate and verified. They want to attack the Second Amendment and take away the rights of Americans to own weapons with which to defend themselves. All the while, they are living in gated, secured communities with bodyguards. The left-wing Marxists and the George Soros-funded district attorneys, attorney general, and judges have been infiltrated by the local, state, and federal court systems to try and use creative methods to reinterpret law and use that as a weapon against real Americans who love their country. And there are even supposed conservatives in the Republican Party who are called Republicans in name only, or rhinos, for good reason. They are part of the problem and help with the internal destruction by not doing their jobs in representing their constituents under the Constitution. While around 10% of the American public identifies as LGBTQ, etc., the progressives want to apply these social experiments in every walk of life, from indoctrinating school children without the parents' knowledge, and infiltrate that concept into the military. Small communities are at war with each other over the liberal pollution in public schools. Liberal governments oppose private and charter schools, and the Biden government had targeted concerned parents and even conservative religious groups as domestic terrorists because they chose to fight back. But we will prevail. The reason is simple. Most Americans are not fooled or poisoned by the anti-American diatribe from abroad or from within. It is a new civil war, but a war of constitutional rights, ideology, common sense, and logic. The world will still look to us for leadership, and sometimes they will be let down, as with the current administration. But the world in its majority knows that a strong, focused, and capable United States is the best and last great hope for Western civilization and freedom for all people. Once we remove the treasonous elected leaders from office, impose term limits, and have a better vetting process for electoral candidates, ensure corruption-free elections, remove the federal government from our education system, enforce laws equally instead of benefiting the liberals such as Hillary Clinton, Hunter and Joe Biden, BLM, and Antifa, our nation will recover on all fronts.
Thank you for watching Forgotten History. Please click like, subscribe, and share. Send us comments and show ideas, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Until next time.